Okay, wonderful. All right, so hi everyone. Good morning from Canada, but I know we're all in many different time zones. So I hope you are enjoying your day. So we are going to share a little bit about this anthology, the trauma-informed practice, and what makes it unique is because it is a global context. So I just want to share some acknowledgements because we definitely had a whole team working behind this anthology. So I'm going to pass it to my group members to introduce themselves. So Angeliki, you can begin first.
Let me first check. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
great. Thank you, Kristen. My name is Angeliki Kardamaki, and I had the opportunity to help steer this collective project because, yeah, indeed, it's a collective project. A little bit about me. I'm based in the Netherlands, but I'm originally from Greece. I have a background in musicology, music education, and arts and culture studies. I've worked for years in cultural organizations in various positions and also most lately in social welfare. However, since like a year and a half, my focus has been entirely on the field of arts and mental health through projects like this anthology, and I'm also actively looking for new research opportunities. I will end this here by saying that it's wonderful to be here with everyone, and I also look forward to your questions and comments at the end of the presentation.
Lalitha?
Hi everyone, I'm Lalithashree Ganesh. I'm based in Bangalore, India, and I'm an arts-based therapy practitioner. I work with diverse groups across the country and especially enjoy working with children at risk. And trauma work has been very core to what I do. So thank you and welcome everyone. GA?
My name is Gout Algloob Haj Elhassan. I'm a Sudanese medical doctor, specifically in psychiatry department. Also a mental health advocate and content writer. I'm very happy to be here with you everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, team. Yes, and my name is Kristen, and I'm a health promoter, social worker in Toronto, really focusing on newcomer health equity using the arts. I also want to do a shout out to Shadden, who supported with graphic design, our two review committees. Of course, Dr. Kunle, who supported us in mentorship throughout this year, as well as special thanks to the Global Arts and Medicine leadership team that were working behind the scenes. So thank you, everyone who has contributed. Talking about contributions, I also want to shine light, of course, to our submitters. Dr. Kunle told us, we don't have a fellowship without fellows. So in the same way, we do not have an anthology without submitters. So everyone that you see on the screen are all the contributors that have contributed something to the anthology in many diverse ways. Really featuring 16 countries across the globe. So that's pretty incredible. And I think our team has learned so much from the contextual and linguistic submissions that we've had. All right, so I'm going to pass it to Lalitha to start a check-in question for us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So as we begin our check-in, I just like to invite everyone to take a moment, notice your breath, relax, just just feel relaxed and just sit back. And as you're doing that, think about, what does trauma-informed practice look like to you? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? And what does it sound like? So I think this is very central and foundational to our work, to our project, and to this anthology. And the reason is to attune to our bodies and to our senses as part of the reflective process. So feel free to take a minute and type in one sentence as you reflect in the Zoom chat. Gayatri says she feels grateful. Brinda says, trauma-informed practice for me feels like a warm hug. Nitya says, feels like a pendulation between past and present. So, someone says, boom. And one says, Asasha says, feels like a safe space. Maria says, safe, a blanket, Marion. Sana says, a comforting, safe, cozy cloud like candy floss. Wow. Yuko says, vast sea of ocean. Harshita says, feels like a safe container. Payal says, feels like inclusion. Amy says, feels like a deep breath and meaningful connection. Frederica says, narrative humility. May says, feels connected. Nishi says, compassion with a container. Divya says, trauma-informed practice feels like my grandfather's gentle rubs when I used to be unwell. Keep them coming, everyone. Misa says, gentle like morning mist or rain. Shalu says, feels like relief. Bhargavi says, settling in my body. Kent says, feels comfortable. Okay, wonderful, wonderful responses. Sagar says, tastes like a comfort food made by my mother. Aryan says, being welcomed in and choosing how to participate. Leela says, much needed and welcome. Akirele says, evening breeze after a long hot day. Kate says, feels like swimming in warm water that you can stand up in. Wow. Beatrice says, it feels like revisiting rebirth. Very, very deep responses. Thank you, everyone. Alexis says, safe, reassuring. Anzum says, checking and getting in touch, back to senses. Lavanya says, feels like a bed of jasmine flowers, rustling of leaves, and tasting like warm soup on a cold day. Mohammed says, partners in health. Aradhya says, feels like a safe space. Zimai says, attentive, warm, energizing, sweet, humming care. Wow, beautiful responses, everyone. Thank you. And as you're typing in the chat, I'd like to pass to Angeliki for our next section.
Yes, thank you, Lalitha, for starting us off with this important question, and thanks to everyone for the responses. I see today we have a really lively audience, which is great. Now, let's talk about the heart of this project, so the intention and the why behind it. Our group first came together during the Global Arts and Medicine Fellowship community, where we connected around a shared interest in trauma-informed arts practice and the role of creativity in healing. As part of this collaboration, we are developing an Arts in Health anthology, a collection of creative works, reflections, case studies, and research that explores how the arts can support healthcare, well-being, and health promotion across different communities and contexts. Our objectives are centered on both learning and connection. First, we aim to showcase trauma-informed arts practices across cultures, disciplines, and lived experiences through a range of artistic modalities. But we also hope to foster reflection, dialogue, ethical sensitivity, and mutual learning among practitioners around the world. Another key goal is to create a digital anthology that highlights creative responses to trauma and healing through multiple art forms, including visual art, storytelling, poetry, music, and even movement. At the same time, we want this process itself to model co-creation and collective care, positioning art not only as a form of expression, but also as a method of research and healing. And finally, we hope this work will promote greater awareness of trauma-informed principles, which in short are safety, trust, empowerment, and cultural sensitivity within both the arts and health sectors. Through this project, we aim to build a space where things like creativity, care, and community can come together in meaningful and transformative ways. And now I'll hand it over to Gout Algloob to continue discussing our journey.
Thank you, Angeliki. You captured it perfectly. So the creation of this anthology took place over the course of a year across 4 different time zones and through the districted lived experiences of each of our team members. Throughout this process, one quote continued to resonate deeply with us. An African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. So this quote reflects the heart of our project and collaboration rather than rushing toward an outcome. We chose to work collectively, making space for listening, reflection, and cultural perspective. So, and also a shared care. Our different background experiences form our practice with greater depth, empathy, and inclusivity. In many ways, the anthology itself became an example of a co-creation process grounded in trust, mutual learning, and differences. So now I will pass it to Kristen, who will guide us through the phases of our process work.
All right, so I want to start off by sharing, whenever I go to galleries and witness pieces of art, I can't help but wonder what the artist's sketchbook looked like, or days in the studio reflecting on ideas. And every so often, curators will display the process work, the sketches that led up to the artist's final exhibition. These are some of my favorite moments. The unfinished thoughts, the notes, the scribbles on the page, the hours spent before executing the final piece. And so I will be guiding us through our sketchbook, the 4 phases leading up to the final publication of this anthology. So our group, we did a couple of calculations and we spent an estimated of 144 hours of meetings on Zoom every Thursday for the past year and invested around 600 hours across 9 months. So let's begin with our first phase, which is focused on preparation. So you can see there on the screen an image, a blueprint of a home. It's like building the foundation of a house before raising its walls, pouring the concrete. Establishing a strong base was really essential to ensuring the project could hold its shared vision, trust, and purpose. I remember a fellow from another group shared that you only need a small dedicated group to make a meaningful difference. And so we embarked on this foundation of not being afraid of small beginnings. So, as we mentioned, we were all in a group, the Mental Health and Trauma Recovery Thematic Group, and ideas began sparking on WhatsApp and Google Docs and messages. And truly, we are grateful for technology for enabling this cross-cultural communication. We explored questions such as why are we even creating this project? Who are we trying to reach? What forms of artistic expression will we use? When and where will this happen? And how will we bring it all to life? So this phase really helped us establish not only our core team, but who else was in our wider networks. It seems like a long time ago, and we often forget where we started. And so, as we were preparing for this presentation, we reflected on where we began. I know many of you today have experienced the ideation phase, and so I want to invite our group to share what was something important during this ideation phase.
Thank you for the question, Kristen. I think something that came up for me was that we were very intentional right from the beginning about what we wanted to put together. That was where we started. I think that set everything in motion. We met weekly, we discussed quite a lot, we asked critical questions, we built the framework together. It kind of took shape on its own, but we also did it with intention. And working together as a team, the 4 of us, it felt like 4 pillars coming together and really complementing each other in the best possible way.
Yes, exactly, Lalitha. I would like to build on that intentionality that you mentioned. And I think that for me, that showed up in how we decided to each contribute a piece ourselves in the anthology. Because I think we put ourselves in a place where we experienced the same vulnerability we were asking of others before we started making all kinds of curatorial decisions about their work.
Yeah, I totally agree. During brainstorming, we focused on bringing up a global and cross-cultural issue that aligns with our thematic group, which is mental health interest. So yeah, it was very important for us to align with this.
Thank you. All right, so let's continue. The next phase marked our invitation to engage. Like the image, like reaching out a hand and inviting others to share in this curiosities with us. This marked our second phase. So we didn't know what to expect. Our team developed an open call for submissions through a Google form and a poster that you see on the screen. And we shared it across all of our social media, the fellowship cohort, the Global Arts and Medicine Network, and we welcomed artists and practitioners to contribute. And we asked people to respond to guiding questions exploring the role of arts in trauma recovery, cultural responses, Indigenous healing practices, and how cultural context shapes our understanding and expression of trauma within communities. And then we waited. The anticipation in itself was thrilling. Much of this phase was honestly sitting in uncertainty and accepting the delightful surprises that may arise. So, over 3 to 4 weeks between December to January 2026, we received almost 50 submissions across our 16 different countries. The anthology includes a multi-diverse works of photography, poetry, creative writing, video, audio pieces. This phase really showed us the power of invitation. This project became abundant because we decided to involve others and walk alongside us. We honestly, and I personally, was very deeply moved by the emergence of creativity and openness and vulnerability. So I want to allow my teammates to share their learnings from this process.
Thank you, Kristen. I think the openness of people, right? Like people just were willing to share their deepest work, their expressions, their meaning making, victories, challenges. That was really, really central and a really big learning in inviting people to join us in this anthology.
Yes, exactly. And looking at that openness that Lolita mentioned, I think what really clicked for me was how that raw honesty kind of challenged my initial expectations, because perhaps it was just me, but perhaps someone else also in the room resonates with that. But going into a trauma project, you might expect only heavy works. But actually, because people were so incredibly open, we found a whole spectrum of human emotion, from deep sadness to bittersweet to pure joy, and all that sometimes mixed with humor. And I wanted to highlight that. GA?
Yeah, go ahead, GA. Oh, okay. Oh, GA, you're just muted there. Oh, are people able to hear her?
No.
No?
GA? Yeah, perhaps.
Okay, let me just put it in the chat.
Sorry, our technical problem. Could you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everyone, and sorry for the technical problem. The extensive responses that reflected the wide range and of comprehension and engagement to our leading questions, to our call questions, amused us and brought light to our mind and stole our attention, to be honest.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. I'm gonna keep going here. Okay, so the next phase is phase three, which is focused on curation and development. So, like a book, gradually revealing its chapters and narrative progressions. Oh, 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 can you hear me still?
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
can.
Narrative
Yes.
progressions, our team organized the submissions into thematic sections. To ensure the anthology aligned with the intentions, we also created an inclusion and exclusion criteria. We used that then to look at all the submissions, and then we used a thematic analysis approach to identify themes and connections across all contributors. This involved many brainstorming sessions as we thoughtfully shaped the work into 5 chapters that could guide readers through evolving experiences of trauma, reflection, and healing. Throughout the process, we communicated with submitters to receive clarity on what needed more information. We made use also of Excel and Canva to help us organize all the content. We also included, you'll see, a contextual text chapter, pre-chapter 1, to offer readers reflections and also our methodology. So you can see on the screen there, this is a sneak peek to our 5 chapters. The first is breaking the silence and naming the invisible. The second one in the light blue is breaking the silence, the body as map somatic pathways to healing. The third in the yellow is about culture, identity, and ways of knowing. In the dark blue, chapter 4 is art as witness, story, testimony, and expression. And our final chapter is collective healing, community resilience, and rebirth. So I want to ask the group, what was a moment of growth or surprise during this curation process?
Thank you for this important question, Kristen. I think a moment of surprise for me was, we were able to create a safe space for all these works. We as humans have such deep and rich experiences, the positive ones, the difficult ones, uh, and so much in between, right? And together we created a safe space for all of these diverse emotions, experiences, feelings, and thoughts, everything expressed via the arts. I think this came up as a big surprise for me.
Yes, and exactly, Laritha. And to build your point further, I think holding space for others meant that we also needed to do the same for ourselves. And I think our biggest growth came from sitting with uncertainty, as this project was not just research, and it wasn't also art. So it sat in this delicate space between those two. And also, what I think needs to be shared is, and what surprised us most during the curation process, was how the works exceeded any single framework, being so many things at once. And I think it's important that we signaled that in the opening sections, reminding our readers that the works will always be richer than any framing we place around them.
Okay, GA.
For me, to be honest. When we guided by the inclusion criteria we set, that helped us to be well focused and balanced at the same time. So exactly that gave us a great picture of what is trauma-informed practice is. Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. So we're getting closer to the final piece. The final phase, we focus on bringing everything together through curation, design, and formatting. It was really important to us that the anthology wasn't something only to be witnessed, but experienced. Throughout this process, we applied trauma-informed design principles by prioritizing things like safety, transparency, accessibility, cultural sensitivity, collaboration, and empowerment through choice. We added elements such as prompt questions tailored to each submission and use artworks for pauses, allowing for breathing space. Again, shout out to Shadeen for helping us format that. Consistency, color palettes, everything, you name it. And after this curation, the anthology ended up being 121 pages. It definitely needs slow and thoughtful pacing, so I encourage you to drink a cup of tea or have a snack during the experience. Ultimately, this process was it was very process oriented, and we also would like you to engage in that process orientedness. So, extending the final question to the group, what did you learn from implementing trauma-informed design? Lalitha?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Now we can.
Oh, great, great. All right, all right. Thank you, Kristen. So I think I hadn't really thought about trauma-informed design. I hadn't thought of any of the design aspects as we started working on the anthology. But I had a long day one of the days, and I came back home and I was looking at the anthology, I was looking at all the submissions, and I was overwhelmed. And I just felt like maybe, I needed to take breaks in between. I needed to pause while reading it because it was so rich and it needed more time, it needed more engagement. And I just thought perhaps we could have large words printed like pause and breathe. And then we thought of the idea to bring in prompts so that we can reflect, prompts so that we can engage with each piece, with intention. And in doing that, we wanted to practice what we preach.
Thank you, Lalitha. I think for me, overall, trauma-informed design meant that we were treating our readers as guests. We were inviting them to an experience, and in order to make that safe environment real, we prioritized reading comfort, ensuring the digital space feels calm. So to sum up what Kristen and Lalitha said, indeed we relied on clean layouts, enough white space, color themes, deliberate collage poses, and of course the reflective prompts. So it's actually a journey designed for deep reflection and not just a place for information dump. And I think our designer Shadin was brilliant at bringing that attention, bringing our intention into the visual story you see today.
GA.
That's exactly right. I want to emphasize the power of the art and the diversity's role in expressing ourselves in authentic way. So, which was reflected in our lovely front cover, starting with Angeliki's sleek door and path. That's inspired by a painting she saw on the Hubble Space Telescope's official website. The artist Shigeru Nakora, I hope I pronounced the name right, repurposes artistically a photograph from a satellite that Angeliki hopes that more people open doors for others and hopes that we find ourselves in the right rooms. And if the rooms aren't there yet, let us imagine and create them. And here is the magnificent drawing of the ever-changing moon faces by Lalitha, which was a suggestion by her sister, Meenakshi. Shout out to Meenakshi. Yeah, while Lalitha was brainstorming a number of nature-based metaphors that could depict the essence of trauma-informed practice, trauma work with self or in practice with people we work with often takes time. So go through several change, people we work with, and the realization, meaning making, and learning and learning. Although parts of the moon remain, although some parts of the moon remain hidden during the certain phases, the transfer motion and work is still continuing to happen behind the scene. And going to the sun and the cloud that symbolize the semicolon, which I inspired from the Semicolon project by Amy Bluewell in 2013, which represents resilience, hope, and decision to continue living despite the struggles we face. And finally, Kristen's drawing that emerged from a personal venture into a therapy, a bivocal learning during the time of her life, was the realization of the need to show self-compassion. The image is depicting two heart figures consoling each other. That means our hearts are not only to be shared with others, but to ourselves too.
Thank you, GA, for giving context to our cover page. I think it's so meaningful hearing the different symbolic meanings behind them. All right, so finally we have arrived to today, and we are so thrilled to share the anthology. The link will be shared at the end of the closing ceremony. One final important thought is that this project was never meant to be perfect. As you experience the anthology, there might be feedback or questions that arise. Feel free to reach out to us. We've added our contact within the document, and we would love to hear from you. To us, what mattered was creating something honest that could hold conversations, reflections, and different ways of understanding trauma-informed practice. And in many ways, like you see on the image on the right-hand side, the anthology became a prism, allowing a light of curiosity to pass through, refracting the vibrant colors of lived experience from different intersectional identities, histories, and worldviews. So it is not a finished statement, but an offering, an invitation to slow down, reflect, and continue to build spaces where art, care, and inquiry can exist together. So each one of us continue to shine light into spaces where it needs color. So now I'm going to pass it to Angeliki to lead us through an experience focusing on art responding to art.
Thank you, Kristen. And I'm really excited for this next part to share it with all of you. So for this next piece, we wanted to explore what trauma-informed practice could sound like. And this is our collective response. What you're about to hear is composed of recorded sounds by Christen, Lalitha, and Gout Algloob. They went out into their worlds, choosing what to capture, and they sent me voices, music, environmental sounds, noise, and song from their different parts of the world. Together with composer Yannis Patoukas, we let these sounds spark our imagination, and we created a sonic journey that moves through different moods and textures. You will hear a grandmother's song alongside a ukulele from Canada, unexpected combinations and conversations across the globe. I think you don't need to do anything specific with it. We just invite you to listen.
حلوة مع السلامة يا يوم مريدك ليك يا غوطة، غوطة طعمة مسكرة، أمك لي بيت الرضا، أمك لي بيت الرضا، فكرت بيها مبشرة يا يوم مريدك يا غوطة، غوطة يا بنت البريدة، وإن شاء الله أحيا وأشوف جديدة، إن شاء الله أحيا وأشوف جديدة، غوطة الدمعة يوم تخريجة يا يوم مريدك يا غوطة، غوطة حلوة مع السلام، غوطة طعمة مسكرة، أمي كيفية الرضا، فكرت بيها مبشرة. شارع مرسلة بيدين طاهرة معطرة، يا أكيد بشارة مرسلة بيدين طاهرة معطرة، بيدين طاهرة معطرة، وجاب عمك أبو ليلى يا يوم وليدك يا غوطة، غوطة حلوة مع السلام، يا أبي سعاد بيت لها مرقة وحنان حاملة القمر، يا أبي سعاد بيت لها.
Wow. I also get so emotional, and I saw your reactions in the chat. And yeah, thank you for that. I would actually love to invite you to reflect a bit on what you heard. I'm curious, what came to your mind as you were listening? Was there a specific image, a specific memory, or a feeling that you would like to share? Now is a good moment to type it in the chat, and I can read a few of the responses out loud if you would like to do that now. I hear that, yeah, this is authentic, beautiful. Let me open the chat to see everything back. Yeah, a mother cuddling her child. Yeah, I felt connected to nature. I went on an amazing journey just floating around. Yeah, actually, maybe Gout Algloob would like to share a bit about her part, because the song is her grandmother's song, right, GA?
Yeah, that was a song written by my grandma and sang by her. It was written when I was birthed. Yeah, the day of my birth.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
so great.
so
Yeah.
thank you.
I think every culture, like you can hear, yeah, same melodies. It reminded me also of the songs that my grandmother used to sing. Yeah, Amy says it felt like the Global Arts in Medicine Fellowship mission in sound, the connection of global sounds, culture, humanity in a diverse collaboration. Yes. Eddie says, that was deeply healing. I felt transported to a time of comfort. Someone asks, please tell me, can we have access to the sound and visuals? Yes, we will post, I think we will post the final video on the fellowship website. Yes, we will make it available. And actually, the visuals came from our anthology, so they are the submissions. And the credits go to Christen for putting together the video part. Great, thank you all. Now let's move on. Yeah. Yes, I would now love to open this space to any of the contributors that contributed works to the anthology who are with us in the room today. So now is a good time. We have around 5 to 6 minutes. So I would like to invite you to share a short reflection on what it was like to be part of this project. Please feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat. Do we have anyone from the contributors with us today? See? Do you guys see any hand? Yes, take your time.
I was probably going to jump in if Olubukomi Olukutibi want to say anything. I see her here. I know she was part of your team one way or the other. I don't know if she want to say anything.
Yes, she was. She was one of the reviewers. So I think, yeah, let's hear her if she wants to share something. But also one of the submissioners, yeah. Yeah.
Good evening or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're connecting from. It's been a really beautiful journey just hearing the process and all the contributions, but also having the opportunity to read and then review. Like I shared in my review, it was really, really lovely to go through all the contributions and the way that the compilation read. It felt very deep, but more than depth, it felt very relatable and very like obvious that everything that was shared came from presence. And big kudos as well. The graphics was amazing. It made it easy to turn through the pages. I really appreciated the naming of the first chapter, which I mentioned, The Healer Needs Healing. Because I think that when we talk about therapy, we write about it, we share of it, we are holding people's hands, but it's very easy to also forget ourselves for those of us that are like creating and holding spaces. So I thought it was really, fundamental to establish that as a beginning for going. I also really, and I think it was explained, the prompts made the read even better and like sit in the body. But more than that, I'm really grateful to have been able to just hear now and witness like the becoming of what we now have as this publication. And I just want to say congratulations and a big gratitude to you all for putting in all the hours and the labor into making this work, because it is important for documentation, for transmission, but also as a tool for all the people all around the world. So really, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know somebody else wanted to unmute Khadija. Let's see if we can hear their response as well.
She was made co-host, so she should be able to unmute.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. If not, we can continue sharing in the chat. That is totally fine. All right, I'm going to reshare my screen now. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good
Can you
afternoon.
hear me? My network is somehow bad here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. We can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Khadija Ade Suleiman. I am also a contributor to the Anthology book, and it was a great experience because that's my very first contribution to such book. I really appreciate the opportunity given to me to showcase my intelligence and my heart in medicine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Khadija. That's so exciting that it was your first submission. We are so grateful. All right. We're going to continue onwards. Okay, so I'm going to actually flip to the next slide, but you can see here some quotes from our reflections. These reflections from our team are also published in the anthology. Yeah, there was so much reflection in this process. Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to Lalitha for our final slide.
Thank you, Christen. I think there's Beatrice wants to say something.
Okay, yes, Beatrice, please.
I think how it works is we need to find Beatrice and then ask her to unmute, and this way she can unmute. So, Lalitha, could you do that?
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes. Yes, Beatrice, you can talk now. Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, it is such a pleasure. It is such an honor. I am so happy to be here. You know something, I think Kristen can remember my email saying because the link they sent at first to us was not working, so I was like, oh yeah, this must be fake, like it's not a real thing. I just submitted to like a fake space, but the artwork and the intention and the words and everything behind it was very commendable. So I said, okay, well done for the artworks and the, but now I'm here and experiencing even more of what I first witnessed. And it is a true honor to have been like the simple line, like you have your contribution is thank you for seeing and hearing and providing space for this like global like everybody coming together. I'm just quite honored, and yeah, thank you for your mind. I will I know my spirit was just I needed to sleep before this event to fully present for it from start to finish. And I'm just grateful for all of you. And I want to tell you that your works, your works, everything, every intention that you thought it was going to achieve, it really did it. That is what I want to say. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Beatrice, and thank you for trusting. Yes, we're not a fake link, even though there's a lot of fake things out there. But thank you, Beatrice, for taking that risk and submitting something. Um, all right, thank you. All right, so we're going to continue. All right, to you, Lalitha.
Thank you, Christen, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Beatrice. So moving on to adaptation and scaling, I think this is a very significant part of the anthology. What happens as we go forward? So here's what's going to happen. We were thinking that sustainability is a crucial consideration for us and something that our group genuinely hopes can be continued beyond this project. We see this anthology not as a one-time output, but as a part of a longer practice, something that can grow, evolve, and be taken up by others in different contexts. One of the key ideas that emerged for us is art as a form of knowledge exchange. We began to see this work as a model of investigation that can be applied within arts and health, one that values both local and contextual knowledge, while also creating space for global dialogue. Rather than separating these perspectives, the work holds them together, allowing different ways of knowing to sit alongside one another. We also came to understand art as a form of reflective practice. In this sense, the artist is not only a creator, but also a knowledge sharer and an artful responder. The process of making becomes a way of thinking, reflecting, and responding to lived experience in real time. Another really important strand for us is awareness creation and advocacy. We see art as a powerful form of communication, one that can bring attention to what matters most in communities and speak to experiences that are often very difficult to express in other ways. In this sense, art becomes both personal and public, intimate and political. We were also drawn to the idea of art as a space for both distinction and common humanity. It allows us to recognize different cultures, identities, and experiences, while also reminding us of what we all share. There is something powerful in holding both of these truths together at the same time. Alongside this, we see art as a space for collective deliberation. It creates room for dialogue, for questioning, and for sitting with complexity without rushing toward easy answers. In this way, the artistic process itself becomes a form of shared thinking. And finally, we are interested in art as a space for imagining and envisioning. Beyond reflecting what is, it allows us to consider what could be. So many possibilities. It opens space for all of those possibilities for reimagining systems of care, healing, and connection in ways that feel more inclusive and humane. Taken together, all of these ideas shape how we understand the role of this anthology. It is not only a collection of works, but also an invitation to continue using art as a way of knowing, reflecting, communicating, and imagining together. So welcome to this journey. Welcome to this anthology. And with the time remaining, we welcome any comments and questions that you have. So feel free to either unmute or paste in the chat. And over to you, Christen, to moderate this part of the session.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Well done, team. So yeah, we have about 2 minutes before the next section of this closing ceremony. So within the next 2 minutes, yeah, feel free to unmute, put in the chat, but we're gonna hold space for this now. Yeah, any comments or questions? Yes, and again, I'll just note that all of this will be published on the website, so you will have access to it following the ceremony. Yeah, and thank you for all the encouragement in the chat. It really means a lot to our group. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yes, Nishi.
Hi, everybody. Just want to quickly start by saying a huge congratulations to this team. I'm really blown. I'm in awe. I'm moved. And I'm really looking forward to going through my own journey with your collection. So thank you so much for such heartwarming work. I have a question around, I think, your process of inclusion. And I think that's the one that stays really close to me always when I think about the idea of bringing together culture, art, and opening that invitation. And the fact that this is an anthology, I would love to know a little bit more about what were the grows and the glows of thinking about your scientific process of exclusion and inclusion. also keeping in mind, because this was trauma-informed, arts-based anthology. Yeah, I'm just curious about how did you guys come together with that process? What was it like to put that process of inclusion together?
Yeah, I can share that. Thank you for that question. And it's so true. What we what we leave out is also important as well. So actually, we only excluded mostly people who submitted grant applications. Some people kind of got confused a little and asked for funding. We do not have funding, everyone. And so most of those applications were excluded. And so we probably included 96% of people who submitted. So it was actually quite large. And because this was such an experiment for us, we mostly wanted to include everyone's submission. So it wasn't actually too much of a stickler. However, saying that, we did have, guiding 3 questions, intentions. And so we used that as our base criteria. Did this submission, meet that? And what's interesting is that some folks who submitted, we emailed them back to ask them more questions. How does this relate to trauma-informed practice? So that we gave them an opportunity to make that connection for themselves and then tell us. So that was our way for this one, at least. Yeah. Thank you, Nishi, for that. Okay, so continue to ask questions in the chat, but I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Kunle because I realize he has a schedule. So back to you, Dr. Kunle.
I'll take over actually.
Okay. Yes.
Hi,